The Christian assembly at school may be routine. Every religion points to the same thing, say the enlightened school authorities: goodness, charity, love thy neighbor. We are only worshipping the one God. It does not matter whether you worship him through Christ or Indra. But would the English children attend a Muslim or Hindu assembly? Ah, well, they say, this is very ticklish. We cannot take such big decisions. Even at an infant school, the Asian child is given a sense of shame about his own food. For at the school, the English children call it smelly and unwholesome. He prefers fish fingers and a sticky bun to chapati and dal. His name has already caused endless mirth, so he prefers to be known as Dave instead of Devendra. It doesn't take long for an Asian child to begin to feel culturally alien.
I went to school, and we all went to school, I suppose, in this country, where we were taught history lessons about the establishment of a British Empire, the good people from this country going out and bringing civilization, whatever that may mean, to the underdeveloped world. And we still often think in those terms. In actual fact, it was not like that at all, but we assume because we did so much good in so many parts of the world that we have so much good to give, and other people must always be on the receiving end of the good that we have to give. And that kind of thinking, I think, has permeated a whole educational system and structure, and therefore obviously affects each and every one of us, that the Englishman assumes he is superior.
I remember teachers in English schools telling Punjabi boys and girls not to speak in their own language, and white pupils laughing at Asian children who used to bring their food from home, very quickly stripping them of a cultural identity. And of course, you can't then expect that boy or girl to grow up feeling as if he wants to express his culture in front of a white majority. The other day, I took my little sister to primary school, and I didn't see one white child, and I thought, God, what's happened to all the white children? Because when I went to primary school, I was the only Asian there, and I didn't think of myself as Asian. And now, everything's changed. I don't know.
मैं इस चीज़ दी फेवर दे विच तां है नहीं कि साडे जड़े अपने एशियन बच्चे है सिर्फ एक स्कूल च भर्ती कर दिते जान, पर हालात कुछ ऐसे हो गए हैं जिस एरिया दे विच मेरा स्कूल है उस एरिया च सारे अपने ही बंदे रहंदे है, ते इस करके सानू होर कोई रस्ता नहीं सिर्फ उन्हां दे बच्चियां नू अपने स्कूल दे विच एडमिट करना, उन्हां नू पढ़ाना, क्योंकि जिन्ने भी गोरे उस एरिया च रहंदे सी वो सारे छड्ड के जा रहे हैं इस वेले.
Bonjour, Jonathan. Hey, vous, monsieur, qui êtes-vous?
Je suis Sanjay.
Ah, bonjour, Sanjay.
Bonjour, monsieur.
Comment ça va?
Ça va bien?
Ah bon, c'est ça. Alors, toute la classe, ça va bien?
Ça va bien.
A sight like this is enough to bring tears of joy to the parents. The children are achieving fluency not only in English, which they cannot speak or understand, but learning such difficult things as French. But is their presence enabling their fellow students or their teachers to learn anything of Eastern cultural traditions?
Multiracialism, multiculturalism, multi-ethnicity is practiced in a number of schools in the inner city where there are black children. But if you go beyond the bounds of the inner city, then even in the middle ring and in the outer ring schools where there may be just the odd black child, headmasters would raise their eyebrows if you mention the word multicultural. What does it mean?
स्कूल दे मैं गया जी, पूरी क्लास दे बच्चे देखे जेडे वीकेंड दा फिल्मां अपनी एशियन इंडियन होंदियां उन्हां दे इश्तिहार उठाए, किसी ने कोई रसाला उठाया, किसी ने कोई लाइब्रेरी दी उर्दू दी बुक उठाई, कोई नावल उठाया, फौश किस्म दा लिटरेचर जितना है उन्हां बच्चों ने उठाया, वो सारे बैठे आपस में जड़े ना उन्होंने तक रहे गप्पा मार रहे फिल्मां दी. और मैं क्लास दे गया जिस वक्त, हालांकि मैं अपना काम सी स्कूल दे जाना, उन्होंने बच्चों तक के मैनू ताज्जुब होया कि साडे बच्चे असीं पढ़ने वास्ते भेजे
मैं टीचर ने रबता कायम किया, मैं क्या भैया बच्चे क्लास तेज की कर रहे हैं, और मैंने कहने लगा कि भाई तुम इस वक्त गुजारी वास्ते हैं क्योंकि इन्होंने बच्चे ने कल फैक्ट्री मजदूरी बढ़ना है, असी कह लिया अपना वक्त ज़ाया करिए इन्होंने।
The idea that the children of manual laborers should be prepared to become factory workers is abhorrent to Mr. Malik, for it touches the core of his existence. Every working-class Asian father wishes that his children should do something other than factory work. It is not uncommon for these parents to raise substantial loans for the higher education of their children. A good report from school, which quite a few Asian children manage to get, is kept enshrined like a page from a holy scripture and is displayed proudly to all who visit.
The peasant immigrant is presented with a set of value systems in this country, the working classes, the middle classes and so on, and he picks and chooses. In the field of education, he is perhaps more middle class than working class. He would like his children to be other than foundry workers or other than a bus driver. He would like them to become doctors and businessmen or whatever.
What do you want to become when you leave school?
I like to go into engineering technology. And
Why?
Because none of my other members of my family are in this engineering line. And as opposed to my brother, who is doing medicine, I like to put some variety in the family.
What does your father do?
My dad is a general grinder. He works at a factory.
He works in a factory?
Yeah.
Was it his idea that one of you should become a doctor and the other an engineer?
No, we just planned it in my brothers, just had in a small meeting, and we said that we should do different jobs.
My dad wanted me to be a doctor, but I wanted to do other things.
But he did want you to become a professional person?
Yeah.
Wouldn't your father like you to become a factory worker?
No, I don't think so.
Why?
Because he just worked there because he wanted to earn money for our family. He wanted me to go and get a better job, do better in life.
Sometimes they are over-ambitious. They don't understand that they can't all become pilots or doctors. Their parents don't understand all the other things that go between, the shades of grey, as it were, in jobs, that you can do lots of other things besides become a top dog in the medical profession.
আমিও আমার বাচ্চাদের জন্য আমি যতটুকু স্যাক্রিফাইস করছি এবং করতেছি করব আমার লাইফের মধ্যে আমার বাচ্চাদের এডুকেশনের জন্য মেইন অফ দ্য থিং বাচ্চাদের এডুকেশনের জন্য এবং আমার বাচ্চাদের সামনে আমি ফুটে উঠাইছি অ্যাডভাইস দিয়া সমস্ত কাজে কর্মে যে আমি মনে করি যে ফুটে উঠাইছি যে আমার ওদের এডুকেশনটা হচ্ছে সবচেয়ে বড় জিনিস এবং ওরা খাক আর না খাক তারা সবসময় স্কুলের জন্য রেগুলার এবং লেখাপড়ার জন্য খুব বেশি ইন্টারেস্ট আমার বাচ্চারাও ভালো
Mrs. Akhtar's daughters are the apples of her eye, and if they do not do well academically, she will be filled with a sense of gloom. Asian children, on the whole, follow their parents' advice to be studious. They do not show much interest in frill activities. They work diligently, and yet they seem to be unconsciously aware that the dream their parents have for them may not be fulfilled. For the parents, learning and knowledge means only one thing: economic prosperity. But the less naive fathers are now ill at ease, even when their children are doing well at schools and universities.
और ये जी चीज़ ये ज़्यादा उभर के मोरे आती है लेकिन मैंने तो यह लगता है कि जी गांधी जनरेशन है कि पाई उसे एजुकेशन ले रही हैगी आ उन्होंने जदों और मैं भी फिक्र रखूँगा साढ़े बच्चे घट नहीं साढ़े बच्चे चंगी एजुकेशन लिया और रिजल्ट गुड आते हैं और हो सकता बहुत छेती समा आऊगा जो उन्होंने डिग्रीज या जो भी लैनगे इतों वो एजुकेशन यह जी होगी कि वो बराबर के हक मंगणगे लेकिन हक नहीं दिते जाएंगे मैं कहूँगा एक बहुत बड़ा ये भारा सानू उस वेले समा यह जहा दुखदायक आऊगा भई डोंट नो भई किदां आपां नूं टैकल करांगे लेकिन मैं जरूर कहूँगा संभावना कोई नहीं भी जिहड़े ये साडे सुधार चावे
I've taught Asian pupils now for some years. Some of the experiences I've had have showed me how much they can benefit from education. But every so often I've had experiences which have made me feel that perhaps what I was doing and the philosophy behind the education I was putting over was not doing them good, but in fact maybe doing them a great deal of harm, because of the clash, the conflict between what I was doing and what was going on in their home and cultural background.
Recently I was speaking to a Bangladeshi boy, and he said his school friends, English school friends, were his friends, and they accepted him, and they knew that he spoke Bengali, and everything was fine. But he wasn't so sure of the outside world. Now the younger generation, I think, is being torn between the friendships they make with their peer group, and there's some very good ones taking place. But on the other hand, the tragedy, I think, of the whole matter is this, that they know their English friends accept them, like them, do not think of their color even, in a positive way, not in a derogatory manner. Yet they also know that those beyond their friends do not accept them.
When they leave school, they're going to come up with the competition from their own peer group. And that is when the crunch comes. You know, they're not able to accept that and feel then that there is a lot of prejudice and a lot of discrimination in the country, where employment is concerned, where their benefits, social security benefits are concerned, and whatever.
I was refused about 9 jobs, and yet I was more qualified, you know, for that job as well that I was qualified. I didn't go up for no high standard job. All I went for was a normal job with the qualification that I had, which were really a little bit above what they required, but still I couldn't get into it.
मुस्तकबिल इथे तो इतना अच्छा नजर तो नहीं आ रहा, लेकिन बच्चों वास्ते मुस्तकबिल जड़ा असी उम्मीद लैके इत्थे आए सी वो मुस्तकबिल सानू नजर नहीं आ रहा, क्योंकि साड़ियां उम्मीदां बहुत कुछ सुन जड़ियां इत्थे असी अज तो 18-20 साल जल्द आए हैं तो अंग्रेज मुल्क इस मुल्क नूं तक्किया सी.
The people who are having the hardest time now, in my opinion, are the young children who have to keep a foot in both these worlds, the Eastern and the Western world.
At the moment, these children do not have separate rooms in which to live and sleep. Individualism, as promoted by Western culture, is unknown in their homes, even though their education is geared towards it. Their linguistic identity, complete until yesterday, is no longer intact, even though Punjabi and Gujarati and Bengali still thrive as spoken languages. This is because they're not particularly encouraged to use their mother tongue at home, one of the many concessions made by their parents to their existence in England. The basic conflicts between the English and the Asians are still confined to school meals on account of beef or pork, and gym slips and swimming suits for the girls, or the wearing of turbans at work. The problem of allowing them to develop their own sense of Englishness, their own identity with England, which seems to me to be the most crucial, has not yet been given any importance. What has been given importance, though, are the laws and acts regarding commissions set up for racial equality. In the eyes of some cynics, these acts have taken discrimination out of the marketplace and given sanction of the state. Some observers find that by appointing a number of Asians in these commissions, the host community has merely salvaged its conscience.
I feel very strongly about it, in fact, and I feel that places like community relations or so-called community work projects that have been set up in this country for I don't know how many years are not choosing people for their caliber of education or their professionalism or whatever. They're Asians, so they get jobs as so-called leaders of the community. But I just question the fact that who do they lead? How do they get represented? And, how much contact do they really have with the community they're supposed to be representing? Have they got preconceived ideas themselves on caste, class, or religion, or whatever?
I think this is a danger for almost anybody who assumes the role of a community leader or a community worker, or in some senses a man who takes on community issues and represents other people. But of course, those people must particularly realize that they are there to serve the interests of their community and not to necessarily create a kind of career for themselves.
People have been paid salaries to try and improve race relations and to make films about race relations. I don't think that is always a bad thing, providing the motives are quite clear and the motives are correct, in the sense that what everybody is trying to work to produce is a genuinely multiracial, pluralistic society. That is not always, of course, I may add this warning, is not always the concern of some of the people that are working within the race relations field. Some, if you like, are just trying to keep a lid on the pot to stop it boiling over.
English people will have to reassess their whole attitude towards black people, particularly those that they have colonized at some point in history, because it is the particular psychological connections between natives and masters that determines their present reaction to anything that is foreign, particularly Asian culture.
Gone with the days when we didn't even make a whimper. Gone with the days when we kept quiet about discrimination against us. Gone with the days when we accepted second-class citizenship. Now you want to stay here, you want to live here, you want to play a significant role in increasing the national wealth of this country, you want to take a fuller role in political, economic and social life, but only on equal terms.
Well, I think the real equality will come when a black man can refuse a job. For instance, it's when he doesn't like the hours, say, all the hours are too long, I don't want this job. Or he can turn around and say, well, that job's dirty, I don't want a dirty job, because I'm more qualified to do a job for my qualifications. So that's the time when real equality will come, is when he can refuse a job. Like a white man does, see, because a white man can refuse 20 jobs and still get a job. A black man can refuse one job and never get a job. That's when real equality will come.
Equality, textbooks tell us, is never offered on a plate. It has to come after a long, hard struggle. Will the time ahead then be a time of trouble and turmoil?
Yes, but that's not to be scaremongering anyway. I mean, the turmoil sometimes can lead to a more hopeful situation, but it does depend on people's attitudes, both individual and also social, which are then obviously expressed within political terms. And until we can change those, things are going to get worse and not better. And we're kidding and deluding ourselves by assuming that we can put more money into this particular area, we can put more money into that institution, we can establish commissions for racial equality forevermore. And things will not get better until we start changing people's attitudes. And that depends to a large extent, whether we like it or not, on what politicians say and do and what the media says and does.
We like to think of ourselves as English, but what somebody pointed out to me the other day, a friend of mine was saying, an English friend, you aren't Asians. The only thing that makes you different is the colour of your skin. And I think that will remain, whatever I do, whatever I eat, whatever I drink, whatever. That will always hold me back.
Home is the last citadel of security for the Pakistanis and the Indians, the Gujaratis and the Bengalis. I have been inside homes where the inner doors are shut tightly before I'm admitted to the front room. Women should neither be seen nor heard. There are homes in England from which wives and sisters have not been allowed to step out for years. Other homes in which women never see their men except between midnight and early morning, for the men work all the time. But no matter where I went, it was always the same unconscious concern. Are we likely to remain what we are? I found resignation, but never a willing acceptance about being in this country.
The Asians don't wear their best on a Sunday. Monday is not necessarily their washing day. They don't watch everybody's favorite program on television, and they do not like eating bangers and mash. The stance of the adversaries, the host community, is peculiar but firm. Go back if you can't live like us. The few successful middle-class Asian bankers and doctors and accountants become defensive when they hear this and begin to arrange their hibiscus borders. Others up and down the country are saying, if acceptance, if integrating with them means eating fish and chips, then we don't mind staying on as exiles and aliens, but we are staying on.
The producer wishes to make it clear that the commentary was not intended to criticize any particular school.